Welcome to another episode of the Modern Father Podcast. I am your host, Marcus, and this is your other host, the Big Poppy, David Ortiz of podcasting. Benji.
Puerto Rican versions of.
Yep. Happy birthday. How you doing?
Happy birthday to you as well. I'm good, man. How was your birthday yesterday?
Good.
Real quick, just before we hop in, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cut you off real quick.
Go ahead.
For those who don't know, Marcus and I, birthdays are back-to-back days. So I'm 4/19, he's 4/20. So that is part of the delay of us recording this at the end of the week instead of early in the week. But Marcus, happy birthday again.
Yes.
How was yesterday?
Boring? No, it wasn't boring. It was actually just a normal day. I worked because the Knights had a playoff game. So I had some tickets that I gave out to some of my peers and just worked the game, ended up hanging out with some of the regulars there and some of the lounges and chilled, hung out with some of my coworkers. It was a pretty, easy, mundane day. The only thing I would say about that night before that was I think I had my first midlife crisis. I'm 39, going on 40. So I started kind of freaking out a little bit that I'm on the halfway point of my life right now. Like if I make it to 80, then hey, I'm good. You know what I mean? But anything over 80 is borrowed. It's it's that extra time. I'm on the extra credit right there. So I was thinking about all the stuff that I've done so far. Am I where I need to be? How do I feel about life? I just was going through all that processing. And then I started looking at cars and I wanted a coupe and it's a lot of dumb stuff that I was going through mentally that night. So I just popped some of that Don Julio and just had a couple of sips of it and just play some video games for the first time in a long time and try to enjoy the night, man. But how about you? How was your what are you how old are you
33.
33, yeah.
Yeah, 33. It was, it's very similar. I went to work, had Wednesday was a long day. Monday, Tuesday was 80 degrees, sunny, beautiful out, Colorado. Come Wednesday, it was gloomy as shit. Everyone was in a bad mood. Work was long. So my birthday work day was not fun at all. It was definitely exhausting. I got home and I think I had a moment like you where I wouldn't call it a midlife crisis, but it kind of just dawned on me again, 33, married, child, birthday, and I was like, wow, it's a very grown man birthday.
Yes.
So I think that's how I would kind of categorize this birthday. It was really chill. I didn't want to do anything. I was exhausted. I'm still dealing with my knee. So having to walk around a lot on it. It was actually very just fulfilling to come home to my own place, driving my car that I love, coming home, seeing my wife, seeing my baby, knowing there's food at the crib. I didn't usually we'll order out or something on my birthday or one of our birthdays if it's during the week. I really didn't feel like doing any of that. I knew we had food that she'd been making Monday, Tuesday. I was I am totally fine with that. She got me some dessert. My wife got me a bottle of Le Portier.
Oh.
Which is that Shannon Sharp cognac.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So it's dope. So I have one of the inaugural bottles.
Yeah.
I came in a nice little box and stuff.
That's what's up.
And honestly, I just chilled, man.
Achraf Hakimi, Moroccan soccer player. Plays for PSG and for Morocco, this country. He plays the center back position, so defense position. His ex-wife, her name is Hiba Abouk, filed for divorce recently. So they met when Hakimi was 18 and she was 30. So she basically groomed this young kid, and then they started actual fully on dating when he was 19 and she was 31, and then they have 2 kids together now, and they're married for the past 3 years. Divorced right now. Hakimi was accused of grape, and with that being said, she was if you're gonna go off and mess around with other dudes while we're on a trip to Spain, I'm gonna divorce you and I'm gonna take half your stuff. So they go into the proceedings. The judge goes, hey, by the way, Hakimi doesn't have any stuff in his name. All the stuff in is his mom's name. So you're not going to get anything. And not only that, you're going to have to pay his lawyer fees, and you're going to have to pay him out in this divorce. Did Hakimi crack the code for divorce for men?
I mean, I don't know if he cracked the code, but he definitely found a loophole. I mean, he found a loophole. I mean, he kind of just did what everybody always does, right? Put it in my mama's name, right? So everything's in his mother's name. I don't really have an opinion on whether it's right or wrong. I mean, was he rich when they got married at 18? Like, was he like a phenom?
So he's a PSG kid. So like, if you come out of like a different academy, like sometimes you get paid a lot. So or it could be like anywhere between. If you're like undiscovered, you could be paid like 3 to 5. So a kid, like a guy like that who's a center back for PSG, I would have to look it up. I would probably say anywhere between 20 to 60K a week.
So I'm gonna be real. I think this is gonna be funny. I'm confident that putting everything in his mother's name was his mother's idea because she didn't like her son being with his older woman.
Yeah.
That is a very mother thing to do.
Yeah.
And I can 100%, like, this kid was 18. He doesn't know the ramifications of getting a divorce. Mm-hmm. He's inexperienced. He's dealing with an experienced grown woman, right? At the time she's 31, he's 19. He doesn't know anything. All he knows is how to play soccer. And his mother probably been taking care of his bread since he was getting paid as a teenager. And she probably sat him down and was like, hey, I don't trust your girl. I think you should put everything in my name moving forward, or keep it in. It was probably already in her name. Keep it in my name until whatever. And then he probably never switched it out.
I think everybody, the NBA has, I know the NFL does it too. They have courses on this. About how women will come and they will try to basically groom you, 18, 19. What happened to that young man, Brittany Renner?
PJ Washington.
Exactly. So, there's definitely women out there that are trying to get your assets, and they see you as a mark, because like you said, you don't know better. So then, like, if you are taking the class, you would hope that, like, one of the old vets would be like, hey, man, listen, you got to do something about your cash. Like, either put it in a foreign bank account, you got to do something, because somebody's going to either say, like they're going to try to sue you, they're going to try to, marry you and then, divorce you, like, a year or so later, and then have your kid, and then all of a sudden you're paying, like, a countless amount of money in child support. Jonathan Majors is going through it right now with the whole, allegation of him beating up the white woman. I don't know if you heard the Odell Beckham Jr. one too. Before he got signed, some woman made an allegation that he was in the club and he supposedly choked her. But then the police did their investigation. Well, no, this is not true, because we don't have any footage of this. This never happened. Like, we searched top and bottom, and they dropped that. They dropped out the case, and that one kind of flew under the radar. But they just brought it up right now because he just signed $12 million
something like that
deal with the Ravens. These athletes are such targets. They're such marks, and it's so crazy how a lot of them get caught up. And it's like it's the wearing down of your name, and one thing, and then also to. You can just win it civilly. Like, they can just try to even that go away money. You're still paying out like a couple $1 million to have these people just go away.
Check this out. But I'm gonna add this though. So they're getting this divorce. I think it's very petty of this man to make her pay his lawyer fees and receive money for alimony or the children, knowing he has all this money and knowing that. From the description you told me, that he was in the wrong of the reason why they're getting divorced.
Oh, right? I'm going to.
Just based off the story you told me,
right?
If he's the reason why she's getting divorced and she's not trying to play him, it's like this guy really did something terrible, and it's
allegedly.
That allegedly could that can also rip or tear your relationship, like. especially if you're in like it's on the news and people are always talking about it, like that's gonna add stress. Allegedly. So what if this comes back as true? You know what I mean? If this comes back as true, then her reasoning in filing for a divorce is not vindictive. It's not to take advantage of. Your man messed up and you're separating yourself. I don't think she should have to pay all of his stuff. He got away with keeping his money and having and putting it in his mother's name. But if you're the reason why you're getting the divorce, I don't think that's fair.
So, would your wife leave you for an allegation like that? Like, if you told your wife, "Hey, like, there is an allegation of me right now cheating," and
But it's not
like,
cheating. It's something.
well,
It was something forceful.
It's definitely is cheating and forceful, but like, I'm just saying, like,
But
it's still cheating. It's
yeah,
definitely cheating.
but what if it's not
But
the cheating piece? It's the nature of that's not cheating, bro. That's sexual assault. I mean,
okay, but like that's an allegation though. But we should give somebody due process before we go into like just clearing it all. Like I would want long term if somebody like did that to me, and if I told long term I am completely innocent of all these charges, and she didn't stand by me, like that would be like, well, that's crazy.
I mean, it would be
That's crazy.
That
You're
is
supposed to be you're supposed to be like down like for the cause, and like also like if I'm telling you that I'm innocent and I am like presuming my innocent, and if I was like one of those high value targets like that, like I would want my long term to be 10 toes with me going through this stuff and let her know that hey, this stuff's bull, this stuff's garbage.
I mean, obviously, yes, if it is, but we don't know the background story. What if she knows something that we don't know? We don't, I mean, like I said, this is a hypothetical, but if it turns out being that this is true and this something like this really happened, then I just don't agree with her having to pay for all this stuff because of a mistake that he made. I'm
Well,
cool with
but
him not getting any money. I'm cool with him. I don't like it. I just don't. I think it's a little extra roadkill if you're the cause of the friction, and now somebody else is paying for your decision. Because if you didn't make that choice and none of that happened, we probably wouldn't be in court anyway. Now, if she was trying to get divorced for some bullshit like nothing and really trying to play this kid, I think she would have played him probably some years ago. Like this is a long game to be playing like that. I mean, it's 11-year
oh, I
commitment.
mean, that's what they all do, though. They all play like that's the long game about it, though. I mean, like they don't just like to get married for 30 days and be like, oh, by the way, I'm going to take your
but
stuff.
they got married.
Like,
They got married 3 years ago, so they were together for 9 or 8 years.
Six.
That's a long time.
So, 6 years. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's a good amount of time. But I'm just saying, like, is she entitled to half of his stuff? You know what I mean? Like, is she because she's a Spanish actor. She's worth over like $2-3 million, like net worth right now. So is she entitled to his cars, his house, his like basically all of his like his jewelry, like everything? Is she entitled to half of his stuff?
I don't think she's entitled to it, but I didn't say she was. I said,
but that's the grift, though. That's the grift. So that's why I'm saying, like, for once, like a man actually won and actually got rewarded for not breaking up a marriage.
But he did break it up.
But no, she broke up the marriage, but now
off of his actions, though. That's the
he's
piece.
getting rewarded allegedly.
I understand. I understand.
Allegedly.
And
I think this was the door. So like if this is that crease through like the A gap. You know what I mean? Like this was that opening for her to be like, oh, I can just like leave right now and like I can actually take all of this stuff.
But you don't know that. Do you know that?
No, but we don't. Okay. But we don't know that. But why?
But what I do know.
But why? But why are we assuming that this all went down? Because like the way right now that you are assuming that he's guilty of this action and that it's okay for her to file a divorce, that we are assuming that he is guilty, and that's what I'm saying. Like those allegations are they're horrible for men. They penalize you because in the court of public opinion that you're filing him right now, you're just destroying him in the court of public opinion, saying that it's his fault that his marriage, because he had this his marriage fell apart because he had this female alligator come out and say this about him. So
all I'm saying is
instead of waiting around and saying like, "Yo, this guy is not let's wait till the court actually rules on this.
I get that, but you're also, whether it's real or not, that can still cause a friction in the relationship. You don't know how their marriage was. What if it was already rocky before that? We don't know. Like I said, we are making assumptions, right? But you don't know if that relationship was already on the brink of closing, and now you're getting dragged on social. You're getting dragged. It's impacting your career. Now you're married to the alleged sex offender or sexual assault person. You're telling me she's rich and she has her own career going? That's going to have an impact on her career, whether he's guilty or not. He's stained now. He's going to. It's different. It's different for him, as it won't hurt him directly as much. Like, you see people all the time accused of shit, guilty of shit, and they're able to go back and play sports. This woman is going to feed some of that negativity because of who she's affiliated with.
I see your logic, but then your logic is kind of skewed when she's asking for half of his shit. You know what I mean? Like, so if she really wanted to get out of the relationship and she's like, hey, like my income is this, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna ask for a divorce, and then I'm gonna get him in the custody portion of it, and I'm gonna get him on child support in the custody portion, which she still has that power to do. That's still probably ongoing.
What if maybe?
Dude,
come
on, bro.
Listen.
Drake. Drake. Rick Ross signed. He's not with him shooting in the gym. Was she on the field with him? Was she on the field with him?
Yeah, kind of. She caught him. Listen, when she caught him, just because you're good at a sport when you're 18 years old doesn't mean you're going to be a multimillionaire. That is not a guarantee. You can be the number one pick overall. That does not mean you're going to be a guaranteed mega superstar. So if she's been with him since before he was a mega superstar and she already had a whole career, there is a possibility that with her support that he has made it to where he has made it to, not only on his own skill and ability, but with the support of his woman. You, like I said, listen to me.
She's 31 years old. When
I understand, but the dude was 18 years old, making only 30. He was making 30K a week or a month or a year. She was making bank already. She's established. He was not established. He was like a rookie. That is not, just because you are a phenom or you're a number one overall pick doesn't mean you're going to be a multimillionaire. So it's the same concept, right? If she was with him, growing with him, she might feel, maybe not half, but she might feel entitled to something that she believes they have built somewhat together. The same way it would be with me and my wife. I didn't have much. I was off potential, and we built stuff. So if we were separated, she would feel entitled to some of the stuff that she helped me create.
Well, yeah, because you guys built that together, though.
You don't know if they built it together. That's what I'm telling you.
She already came in with money. She was an actress. She already came in with money. Like, she had money. And then also, too, you're also not, what's the age gap of that? 12 years older than, like, your wife. You know, you didn't pick your wife out, like, at the local high school while you were out here principaling right now. Like, imagine you right now going out to the local high school and being like, hey, I'm going to find my future wife right now. And you find your wife right now at the high school.
Super big assumption.
But that's potential. That's what happened, though. Oh, she's going to be a great in the medical field. I'm gonna pick her. Like, that's what happened, though. That is what exactly happened. I mean, that writing's on the wall. She saw him and was like, dude, this guy's going to make bank.
But she was already making bank.
Exactly. But why would people? It's just because people have money doesn't mean they don't want more money. That's what Jeff Bezos of the world, the Steve Bombers and everything. People who have money want money, and then it's like, oh, I don't need to have an acting career now because I have this.
But she still has it.
This young phenom.
So what you're saying doesn't make any sense because it
makes complete sense
she can
stop doing what she's doing.
But she has dude.
And now she's a social media influencer. She's a social media influencer now. So all she does is do social media, and then she'll do like part-time work. She doesn't have to do full-time work because she had a man that made that net worth of $12 million.
So that proves my point even more because now she can. So if her income is reliant on public image and public people, Who's gonna want to hire the wife of a alleged rapist, bro? Like seriously, that is gonna put a huge taint and loss of her wages moving forward.
Or it could be like, hey, like I'm gonna stay down with my man 10 tones down because we're marriage from death to his part. And if he is guilty of this, I'm gonna wait it out until this is actually like this is done. And if he is guilty of this, then I will go divorce him. And now I have the court of public opinion on my side, and now this is okay. But she didn't even wait. She didn't even wait for that. So that's why I'm saying this is like a full-on like theft of funds. That she knew what she was doing, grooming this young kid. Like, and I think in this case, she gets what she gets. Now, if you are a normie like me and you, and we're out here building, and like, hey, like divorce happens and stuff like that, yeah, there should be shared funds. My parents got a divorce, and they split the money up like they had to because they bought a house. They split the money up. I mean, that's what it does. They're normies. These are like people on like the 1%ers of the world. Like these guys make tons of money, and they want more money. They're greedy, and that's what she wanted to do. She had a greedy move, and she got handled for that in court. And this is only going to be like 1 in a million because California, the state where I have a custody battle going through, they won't allow that. They'll take that. They'll get those funds right out for mom. Oh, come on, mom. I want to see your tax returns. I want to see your stuff. That's not going to happen here in America. So I think it's a 1 in a million. Comment section. I hope people will actually talk about this because
I think that's a good one to talk about.
I want to hear what people have to say. This next one is going to hit close to home. Chicago's been lit lately. Last weekend, the teens came out. Where were they at? What?
They're all over downtown, and I seen videos all over.
Yeah. Right, and like they're jumping on cars. They're beat up an interracial couple. I saw them. They put big time hands in that interracial couple. A Latino family got like the dude was driving in the car, and I guess they punched up the window and started punching the dude in the car. And then also 2 boys were shot. So the mayor-elect, Brandon Johnson, who, everybody's hailing in Chicago because Lori Lightfoot was terrible. He says, quote, however, it is not constructive to demonize youth who have otherwise been starved of opportunities in their own community. Do you agree with these statements? These kids don't have a choice. They're victims of their environment.
I disagree. I think that's a politician's statement. And I think it's a disservice to all the people who actually put in work in Chicago. Those who I know personally, organizations I've worked with across the city, and people that I know who put in work with the youth in those communities. From schools to nonprofits to park and recs. Yeah, there's been some cuts and there's been a lot of things that we wish we still had, but there's still a lot of great people out there. And I think it's a discredit to all the kids who live in the same neighborhood as these kids that went to go terrorize people who are not doing that. Because those kids, not every kid in their neighborhood was out there. That's a combination of some of the most lost kids in different neighborhoods and different blocks from the city. They were not all from the same neighborhood. So I think that's just a political blanket statement. And it's a cop-out that people like to use when they want to make a point of, like, it's very easy to say, like, oh, because of the environment, this is why they do that. But in most places you go to, most people have your best intent, right? Most people walking around are good people. So if you take that logic and you put it to all the bad neighborhoods across, we talk about Chicago. If I go, there's a lot of good people in most of these bad neighborhoods, but we just tend to focus on that 10%. They get all of our attention. But there are 90% of the other kids who live in that same neighborhood who have the same limited resources at their school, who go to the same library that may not have the newest books, who go to the same swimming pool that's overcrowded, who use all the same amenities, live in the same housing projects, and they do not act like that. And I think that's not fair because those people and their families are working hard and harder to put their kids in a better position. They're teaching them values. They're teaching them how to be good Chicagoans. And we're spending our time and making excuses for kids who are downtown causing havoc and terrorizing people for nothing. This is stupid. It really pisses me off because they'll be like, oh, they're gangs and this and this. That gang members, old gang members, old heads, people who are calling shots, do not honor that. And that's what happens when you have kids leading other kids. You might get some social media likes and videos, and you might go viral, but then by you going viral, the police are gonna catch up to you and be able to figure out who you are, what's your name, where you live, who you're affiliated with, and now you're gonna catch a massive case because you wanted attention. You wanted people to see you, and for people to say, "Oh, they don't have opportunity," and they do. They choose not to have the opportunity, even if it's a limited. And I get it. They're not the shiny opportunities that kids get in the suburbs of Illinois, but there are people with huge hearts who are there in those same neighborhoods giving anything they have and making the best of each situation that they're given, and they're there for those kids. And these particular kids are choosing not to engage in what's in front of them and then use the environment as an excuse.
I'm not going to speak on your city like this because I think that would be utterly disrespectful. I spoke on your city last week about basketball, and I'm not going to do it two weeks in a row. This is more of a serious topic, though. Is Gen Z... The way we look at Gen Z is terrible. So I think about it this way. When I was in the schools, those kids were willing to trash their school. And over a TikTok challenge. You know, bathrooms, urinals getting pulled out, flood in the bathroom, just defiling hallways, you know, messing with classrooms, stealing. You know, I had my mug stolen for a lick challenge. Is Gen Z done for? Or is it just like the bad apples that kind of shadow the bunch?
I think the bad apples shadow cover the bunch. Most kids are, like I said, most people, not even just kids, most people are good people. A lot of these kids, man, are so freaking bright. I mean, these kids are smart, man. And then they're whizzes with the technology. The issue is like I'm expecting a 12-year-old, 13-year-old to be able to think like a 25-year-old. And that's never going to happen. They have so much exposure.
In what ways? Explain
so like
that.
Being able to like understand images that they're seeing and comprehend them correctly. You know what I mean? So like they're living off of a highlight reel. Like they live in a highlight reel world where everything is short, instant, and it makes a not full picture of what's really going on, right? They live off Snapchat stories, Instagram shorts. They live off TikToks. Think about it. People don't even watch full games anymore, right? Like, think about basketball. Most people just watch the highlights now. They don't even watch the game anymore. Like, that's the world we live in. So that's a lot to process for a 12-year-old, 13-year-old brain. So they're getting flooded with so much information that they can't process and they don't understand. And without that frontal lobe development, you don't understand consequences. You feel untouchable until you feel those consequences for real. And then you're like, oh shit, like, okay, now I understand. Right? It's like when you put your hand on the fire, you finally get burned, and you finally understand why your mom or your dad has been telling you to stop playing by the stove. But the kids who are not engaging in the craziness, they're going to save us from ourselves. Like the kids who are actually really engaging, dude, very empathetic. They speak out, don't like tolerate bullying. Like when I was a kid, I was encouraged, right? Like they'll speak out against it. They don't want to see people get hurt. They want to make sure like the world around them is good. And it's just now like, just like when we were a kid, there were badass kids then who just couldn't get it and didn't want to get it. They're just more tooled up now. They're just more modernized. But the kids who got it going on, they're going to be able to take us to the next stage. Mm-hmm. They're very bright.
Parent accountability. Where are we at with those kids who do struggle with the lack of discipline, lack of focus, living in like a TikTok highlight world?
Those are tricky too. Because what does come from those kind of bad neighborhoods is specific resources for people who have true needs. I guarantee you there are some kids who are running around acting a fool who are undiagnosed with disabilities, like true disabilities. Would not surprise me. There's a few, not the majority. There's a few in there who truly don't, who might have some issues going on in their head that they cannot control. And it's not being addressed. Very rare. But I guarantee you in that massive crowd I saw of 300 kids running around, there's a good three, four maybe, who have some real cognitive ability challenges. Then you'll have like maybe who have some truly traumatic experiences, like, and I'm not saying like their cat died or something like that. I mean witnesses to murders, physical abuse. There's a few other ones, just a lot. And I would say there's probably a lot more Lisa Simpsons in that group who are just there for the clout, and their parents will whoop their ass if they knew they were there. And they're probably taking advantage of mom and dad having to work, or only mom being there around, or only grandma being around. And they're typically on the fence, like they don't really do bad shit, because they all weren't doing bad shit. It made it look worse because the crowd was big, but not all 300 were doing something. And then you'll have that last group of kids whose parents don't give a shit because they don't even care about themselves. And that's where, like, the parent accountability would be very helpful. The other instances, there's definitely a level of accountability, but this is like the most basic level of accountability, because there are some kids who truly are living out on their own, and their parents behave in a way that is reflective of their kids' behavior. It's like a bother. They're a bother to taking care of their kids. They get annoyed by taking care of their kid. They don't do it at all.
Do they hate them?
They may not hate them, but they're not going to parent them. They're going to treat them like a friend, a totally independent friend. And it's not, they're absent.
I mean, with my friends, I try to hold them accountable. It just depends on like what kind of friends you have. That's why I think you should surround yourself with like the right people. You know, we're like speeding one day, and I was like, dude, like we're bobbing and weaving, like probably should slow down a little bit. You know what I mean? Like for me to not say nothing and be like, oh, dude, let's go and cheer that on. Like I wouldn't consider myself a good friend right there. You know what I mean? I think that's not a good friend mode, because then like not only could we get hurt, and then like there goes our fatherhood, there goes our, you know, us being husbands, there goes our jobs, there goes everything, just because we want to have like a moment. You know what I mean? So like,
but you gotta remember, you surround yourself, right? Your circle is literally a reflection of you. So if you're a terrible parent, who are you hanging out with? They're all validating one another for their decisions. They validate each other. Just the same way, like you were saying, like accountability, like in my circles, accountability, right? If there's something going on I don't like, I'm going to speak on it. Low life motherfuckers hang out with other low lives. Drunks hang out with drunks. Junkies hang out with junkies. You know what I'm saying? So absent parents, they're hanging out with the other absent parents instead of finding their kids.
With Walmart closing 4 stores in Chicago, and just what you said about like, you know, with social circles that don't hold each other accountable, can communities like that across the United States, because it's not just in Chicago, we just signed a bright light on Chicago, what's happening in Baltimore is happening in New York, happening in Louisiana, and like down in New Orleans, happened in Los Angeles, happens here in Vegas, happens in Denver. How can we save our communities?
I mean, first, it takes a lot of organization, man. Like people have to want to be supported and support other people. It's a thankless job, bro. Like it takes a group of people to basically be servants of the neighborhood, right? And not a lot of people want to do that. You have a lot of movement in the United States since with COVID, and I always say it's like social media too, kind of promoted people relocating. You don't really see deep rooted communities anymore. You don't have that old person on the block that been there for 50 years. In cities, a lot of them have been priced out to where they just sell and dip. So it's gonna take like organizing from the next people my age, your age, it's our time into that light, and just be the ones who are gonna be willing to do it. You got to organize. You got to know what's going on in your neighborhood. I keep telling myself I'm going to go to like one of these community meetings, and I never go. I got to be about it and go and show my face. Relative to like Chicago and Denver, I live in one of the probably more populated, rougher neighborhoods in Denver. But I love it. There's a lot of great people here. Most of the people are good.
So I'm going to ask this question right quick. With the students that you see and the parents that you deal with, does that sometimes keep you away from those community meetings? Because like, you can't save everybody, and like I burnt myself out trying to save a lot of people, and I've definitely been super frustrated because there's a lot of people that are just this is the way I am. Like, you're not going to change me, and then people are so disagreeable to change. So that change is so foreign to them. I've been living this way since the day you've been born. Since before you've been your daddy's nuts. They'll talk some shit like that. Like, does that keep you away from meetings, dealing with people like that?
Nah, I embrace that. I think what keeps me away is I know I'm going to want to do something, and my plate is full. Mm-hmm. I don't half-ass anything. I'm a neighborhood man, bro. Like I said, when people ask me from where I'm from, when I say North Side, and like I really mean North Side Chicago, everywhere, bro. I moved around. I lived in different neighborhoods. I hung out in different neighborhoods. I am I'm a community person, and then with like working as a public educator. You're in early, you leave kind of late. Like today, I didn't leave my school till 5 today. By the time I get here, the last thing I want to do is sit in another governmental type of meeting from 6 to 8 p.m. and then I'm missing my daughter's time.
Are you willing to sacrifice yourself for the community? So you're saying you have all this stuff, you're doing all this stuff, you're in your prime years, you're trying to work on a second kid, you're doing all this stuff right now in your extracurriculars. Are you willing to sacrifice these prime years to help the community?
Yes.
So you're willing to put aside your second child. You're willing to.
No, I wouldn't put them aside.
Those long hours, because that's the thing, to sacrifice. Because now, like if you pull up. You're all
this
in.
is what I mean as a sacrifice. So it's just an understanding that like daddy time may not look like me being able to sit here at the house and like play all the little games, and my world will have to be revolved around the community. And I think my wife would be down. Is like, I want them on the mission with me. You know what I mean? And building humanity within my children that way.
Yeah, that's exactly why I asked that, is because to be a community leader, you have to be all in. There's no half stepping. There's no BSing. So as you are making that sacrifice, and after you had a long crazy day, you've been going to places that you get a little grimy, you get a little sweaty, you get a little dirty. What would you do?
So I'm gonna drive home in my lovely car, windows halfway down. It's a little breezy out, so instead of opening the moonroof, I just tip it open like a cap. Pull up, I say hello to the wife and child. Sit on the toilet, give it last few more pushes, look at some TikToks. I only want to clean once. Turn that lukewarm shower in, stick my big toe in to make sure the water is just where I want it. Jump in the shower. Let the water run for a moment. Get that cloth. Lather it right up. And wash that ass up.
Don't use your hand. Thank you for using a washcloth or a loofah and a good designer soap. Don't use Old Spice. And thank you again, guys, for listening to another episode of the Modern Fathers Podcast. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe, and listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great weekend, everybody. Peace.
Peace. Take a shower.